This is the CarterCast, the pre-proposal show for dating couples designed to make engagement ring shopping easy, understandable, and fun. You can get the 4 C's anywhere, but only here can you get the 5th C, called Carter. I'm Josh, and this is CGA GG, former president of the American Gem Society, and Jack Lewis Jewelers CEO, John Carter. Although the bigger news today is that we have the first guest in show history. It is vice president and co-owner of Jack Lewis Jewelers, Missy Ranney.
Hi.
Welcome
Thank
to
you.
This Thing We Do. It is so nice to have you.
It's exciting to be here.
Missy Cast.
It's the Missy Cast. Yep. Carter, you've been talking about having guests on the show for a while. Why did you want to have guests on the show in general?
Because we have a fountain of knowledge and really smart people that work at Jack Lewis Jewelers, and Missy is the epitome of that. She is who we all rely on. She knows how everything works at the store, backwards and forwards. She knows products. She knows fashion. She knows how to handle me. So
hardest job of all.
which for sure is and I'm just so honored to have her on CarterCast and to work every day with her at Jack Lewis Jewelers.
Thank you.
So, I mean, you went the heartfelt, sentimental way. I was going to say the reason to have guests is people are tired of hearing us. Like,
I didn't feel like I needed to state the obvious.
Speaking of stating the obvious, one thing I can say for sure is that this show just got a lot smarter.
Oh
yeah,
with Missy on it today. So
absolutely,
Missy's alter ego is LegitiMissy.
Yes.
You might know because she knows what's legit and gives credibility and legitimacy to the jewelry collections at Jack Lewis because no one is more on top of trends than her. Carter gave up on following trends a long time ago. That has been.
Yeah, I'm not a good trend follower.
Oh, you didn't have to give up on.
Well, I'll just pick something up at a jewelry show. I'll be like, Missy, is this cool?
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
She'll be, and sometimes she's like, not so much.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Okay, briefly getting to know Missy. I could just ask you the credential resume stuff, but we're not going to do that. We're going to have more fun.
Okay.
So the question I have is, what is your favorite part about being in Las Vegas?
Oh, food. No question. Not to mention, obviously, we love being there for the jewelry when we go, but the restaurant scene is probably my favorite is Las Vegas.
Yes.
Food is amazing.
That's why I asked, because you guys are there somewhat frequently with various trade shows, jewelry things. So seeing shows, I assume you do that too while you're out there. No,
very little. We do very little of that, but we do eat very well.
That we do. I think I've been to Vegas maybe 50 times. I think I've
Yes.
seen one show.
Yeah.
Okay, well, good. Gambling?
Very
Gambling?
little of that too. We don't
No?
do much of that either.
Wow, just jewelry and food. That's
Yeah,
it.
we save our
and
money
business.
for the food.
There it is.
Yeah. We're there for business.
Yeah.
What is, Missy, the best thing about going on a bourbon tour?
Ooh, the bourbon tour. You know what my favorite part is
bourbon.
actually, well, besides the bourbon, is seeing the mash bill being made and where it's it's hot and it's bubbly. I love that part. Very cool.
Awesome. And then the softball. What is the most rewarding part about working at Jack Lewis Jewelers?
Oh, gosh,
Aside from Carter.
Golly, that is a hard question. I would say no. It probably truly is our partnership.
Oh,
It really is.
okay. Then I'll stop joking about it.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not a joke, truthfully. It's hard to find someone who you instantly click with. And we've both been doing this a really long time and we both have our own experiences. And I think we find a really good way to just bring it together. And
I think our strengths complement the other's weaknesses, right? Or,
absolutely.
And I think that we really do we're a really good duo. And you're not asking me, but Missy truly is one of my favorite parts of being at Jack Lewis because she's just a good, kind, honest, smart person and really has good business sense. And people that work at Jack Lewis love her. And so it's, again, you hear me say it all the time. I'm all about relationships. Well, this is just one of my favorite parts of being at the store.
I agree. Well, we wanted Missy on the show to talk with us about designer engagement rings. Why? Like, what's that? So we're going to get into that. I think the idea is that there are fashion jewelry companies like watches. You got your Rolex, your Tudors, your Seikos, or whether it's fashion jewelry like Roberto Coin, Lagos, Kendra Scott. I would understand why somebody might want some of those name brands.
Sure.
Either because they're good quality, you like the design, maybe you appreciate something about what the brand stands for. But that also happens with engagement rings. And that's something we haven't really gone into too much before. There are designers who make engagement rings. So like, what's the parallel case for that? Like what is the reason for kind of designer engagement rings to exist in the market? So why might you want a designer engagement ring instead of something that's just, unnamed or white label, something like that? So
Sure.
That's kind of the idea of what we're going to talk about today with the designer queen, Missy. And then we also have a few examples here today. So this will be a show and tell episode as well. All right. So first of all, Missy, just to get into it, why designer engagement rings? Why do people gravitate toward them?
I think you have to consider why does anyone choose a brand, right? We think of brands for quality, for consistency of that quality. Maybe you just like the particular design that designer has. Like you like their look, you identify with their look. You might like the story of the brand. There's a lot of back history to why designers design the way they do, what their inspiration is. For us, it has to align with a couple of different things for us to choose a brand for the store. The quality obviously has to be there, right? The designs have to be something we think people are going to wear and to buy. Can't be so far out there that it's cool to look at, but nobody's actually going to take it, Yeah. And then wearability is a big factor for us. It has to be comfortable. We have to like the way it feels on. And I think that's one of the biggest things with designer jewelry is a lot of times you pick it up and you feel it and you're like, ooh, this feels good. This just feels right. And they just do a lot of extra things to their rings that maybe like a generic piece of jewelry doesn't have.
And then you could say too that I would want your thoughts on this because the opposite can be true. Sometimes we'll have appointments with suppliers that we've either done business with in the past or they want to be in the store, and then you could pick it up and you could feel when it's not quality.
Correct.
And when we're always looking at the back of a piece of jewelry or underneath. We spend probably more time on that than we do on that. Could you give your thoughts on how do you know when a piece of jewelry is not quality that we want our name associated with it?
Yeah, absolutely. If you pick up a ring and the back side of it is really hollow, that's one of the very first things that we look for because we know down the road that ring is going to give you a problem. They're doing it strictly for price. And so, people do shop for price, but quality has to be in there too.
Or sometimes too, the opposite can be true. They overfill the back of the ring and they don't leave little holes in the back. And then what that can be, that makes the ring weigh more, but then it's not practical because you can't ever clean underneath the stones.
And then your diamonds don't stay sparkly and they look dirty all the time. Yeah.
Are there, so like when it comes to the what is the role of the designer? Again, so the context is like in reasons why you might choose a designer engagement ring. Is there something that they do on like the service side of things or the replacement side of things, like from that angle, or is that mostly all handled by you guys at the store? And so that really wouldn't be necessarily a differentiator for a particular brand.
I think that's both.
Okay.
We want to be your front line of who's going to help you through the whole process, the lifetime of the ring. We want you to come back to us and talk to us about it. But we do partner specifically with people who stand behind their products. And the reason we choose what we choose is we're confident in the quality of the piece that those issues really aren't going to be a problem. But if they are, we have great partners who always take care of what they have.
Yeah, we think about when we're buying a line or when we're selling a piece of jewelry, we think, when we say this to each other, we say, we own it forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Meaning we don't just sell it to somebody and forget about it. If the quality is bad, oh, well, you're on your own. We have to really do our due diligence on our side of things when we buy a piece to know that it's going to be the quality because we know we're going to honor the maintenance of that piece for a very long time. So we say that to each other. Like, are you willing to own this forever?
Right.
That's usually our test for a brand.
How do you go about helping a customer determine whether they are a designer engagement ring client? Is that something that you notice that they often know about? Like, do they come in generally asking for a particular brand name, or is that something that you often kind of try to get some cues as to what they might be into and then try to steer them maybe toward a certain design that you might think they like? How do you usually get from in the door to you're looking at a designer ring instead of maybe one of the other options?
Well, I think if they don't ask any specific questions when they come in, we just start with our favorite designers. And I think each salesperson is comfortable with a specific line that we might carry. They'll probably just go to their favorite because it's the easiest for them to talk about. If they ask a question about a specific designer, obviously we would take them to where that is. If it's something we don't have, you have to ask the question of what is it about that designer that you are attracted to? Like what are you looking for that's specific about that designer? Yeah. But I don't try to pre-qualify anyone to say, yeah, you would or would not want a designer piece. We love the people that we partner with, and I think we try to find a happy medium of something that everybody could have.
Right.
Sure.
What do you do? So we'll get into the ones you brought by today, so our show and tell part of things in a second. And so during that, you can talk about what brands these are. How many designer engagement ring lines is it common for a jewelry store to have? You probably want to give some options to people when they come in as far as that. So how many choices are you looking at as far as that goes?
2 to 3, I think, is fairly common amongst a lot of stores. It's a big commitment, so whoever you choose to be a partner with, you want to have a beautiful selection from that particular designer. So it's better, we feel, to tell a true story of what that designer looks like versus saying, okay, I'm going to have 10 pieces from this designer and 10 pieces from this designer. It doesn't really give a true representation of their line that way.
I don't know anything about the designers like by name necessarily. I'm wondering, there might be people out there who they haven't really heard of very many of them either. What are the ones you should know? Like, what are some of the big, like just name drop? Like, what are some of the big kind of heavy hitters of engagement ring designers that are out there right now?
Gabriel and Company, Fana, Tacori, Viraggio, Simon G.
Okay. Well, and I guess, so then how would you go about, describing the differences, maybe in a nutshell, between some of those brands you just mentioned? That might help me as a customer be like, okay, how do I sort through maybe which ones I want? Are there some big picture differences you might be able to identify?
I think they all sort of have their own style and look. And so it just kind of depends on, are you interested in more of a vintage look? Are you something more contemporary? So I think that's really, you have to pick the design that looks more like yourself, because some of them are very specific. Yeah. We tend to find lines that are a little more broad, that's not so solely focused on one look in particular, because we find that appeals just to a much broader audience in general. Yeah.
And I would say also it's important to us too, is that, and Missy and I are not big believers in brands for brand's sake.
Right.
Because we feel we want to partner with suppliers and manufacturers, in this case of engagement rings, that we know if somebody comes in and then they say they really like the design of this halo setting with these shoulders, but they want to change the gallery underneath. We know that the companies that we partner with are not going to say no to that request. Their design team will modify their own designs to make it look the way that the client wants it to. So, and this is the day and age that we live in. The technology has progressed to a point where the communication with the CAD and the design can go back and forth quite easily. It can flow really well. And some companies still to this day are just very entrenched, saying, "Nope, that's the design. If you want it another way, that's not. We're not going to do that."
Which I can see why they might want to protect that to some extent.
Absolutely, that's not.
They're
wrong.
An artist.
Right.
That's part of how it is. We get that.
But we've found that doesn't do well for us.
Yes.
Just for whatever reason, that product mix doesn't work for us, because there really are clients want to modify things. And so we need people that can really handle that on the fly. And Fana, who Missy brought today to show off, is really good at that.
Yes.
So let's take a look. So these are the ones that you've decided to have. So I guess, just bring some up and tell us, talk us through what these are and kind of what makes them designery, what makes them
designer
different.
special.
Yeah. What would you say about these that makes them interesting designer rings?
So, okay, this is part of our Fana collection. Something that's new here that we are seeing a lot more of is that they're in yellow gold. Yellow gold is a new trend that's pushing very strongly. We're still sell some white gold, but it's amazing. It's close to 50-50 now that we're ordering yellow gold versus white gold. So
that's really unique. Right? I just remember, like, what was it previously, like as much as maybe 5-10 years ago?
80-20.
Yeah, 80-20.
Or not even, maybe 90-10.
Wow.
You know, we sold very little yellow
That's
gold.
interesting. I didn't know it was up to 50-50.
It's almost 50-50 now in choices of yellow gold. So that's a new trend.
Yeah, because I always push back on the concept that yellow gold is a trend. Yellow gold, like, you're a good example. You've always worn yellow gold
absolutely.
and silver and white. I don't think it ever goes away, but it's definitely, for it to become more prominent in an engagement ring, to your point, Josh, that is a relatively new development.
Right.
Yes. So I brought a couple pieces here from Fana where we have a very classic solitaire. In diamond shapes, we're seeing rounds have always been the most popular, but right now elongated shapes. So the ovals, the radiants, elongated cushions, emerald cuts. I think because it gives you such a big look on the finger, you know, it's longer. So we're seeing a lot more, especially ovals, more than anything.
Right.
So I brought you a beautiful oval solitaire. It is classic, yet it's a little refined, which is why I chose to bring you something that's kind of basic, but it's rounded, it's comfort fit. The head is integrated, which is what the part that holds the diamond in there. Yeah. So a wedding band sits right up next to it, which is very important to most people.
Yeah.
Yeah, where a classic solitaire, sometimes we have that weird fit where the diamond band bumps out away from the ring. So that doesn't happen here. They've, figured that out. Here's a very classic 3-stone in the middle. Also figured out that way to put that wedding band right up next to the engagement ring. We're seeing 3 stones kind of went out of popularity for a little while, that kind of past, present, and future trend. But it's really back in style now. And as you can see, I only brought you one. This really isn't a halo, but you can see there's no halo rings up here. And a halo is that little ring of diamonds that go around the center stone. We're seeing a push away from that trend now, especially really strongly into just like a 4-prong center, just to show off that center stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? This is a basic question. Why? Like, did you know why those things happen? Like, is this like a top-down kind of like runway thing that just gets decided in New York City and then makes its way here? Or is this just like our artistic designers kind of deciding this? Is this like the people deciding what they, like, how do these kind of things come in and out in your experience? From what
I feel like it's been around for so long. Like Halo's 15 years or more now that they've been popular. And I honestly think it's just people are tired of seeing it and it just kind of plays out. It'll come back. Everything always does. And it's not that they're completely out of style. It's just we're seeing much more choices without a halo. Yeah. This one down here is a bezel set center and side stones, which is something that also we're getting a little bit more requests for. Just interesting. This is like great choices for people that are in the medical field because there's no prongs to deal with. If you put gloves on your hands every day, there's nothing to catch on anything there. So that one actually, we were talking about it earlier. And when I bought this ring for the store, I thought, okay, this is risky because it's a little different, a little out there, but we've sold it very well so far. So who knows? You never know when you buy something how popular it's going to be, and you take a risk. But this one has been very popular. So.
It's almost like your hunches and instincts are good.
I am, right?
It's almost like
she knows what she's doing.
You just never know.
It's almost like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
What else? Well, you brought other stuff. What else you got here that looks much blingier? Okay,
so another trend we're seeing down here on the end, I have baguettes. Baguettes they used to be really popular, kind of the same thing. It's cyclical. They went out of style for quite a while. Baguettes now are very, very popular. And fancy shapes, really popular too. We're seeing especially side stones, fancy shapes on the sides, which we haven't seen for quite some time. Okay. So pears, ovals on the sides, marquees on the sides.
Fancy is anything that's not round.
Exactly. I should have qualified that. Anything that's not a round.
It's a technical term.
Yes, fancy. A technical term. It's fancy.
It's not just you being fancy.
Yeah,
some fancies are fancier than other fancies.
So it's a fancy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
extra fancy.
Right. Extra fancy.
And as you can see, the style is fairly delicate still. We have some really thin sides, and I think ladies still like the more delicate. They like a big stone and a big center stone, and most people want the littlest, tiniest ring that they can get on the sides. Okay. So that super popular still. But then we still have options like this one here with the oval center, where that ring could actually stand on its own. It's big enough, wide enough that you wouldn't even necessarily need a wedding band. which is kind of a different trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that too. Like how you mentioned the bands earlier. Like, is that, I assume that's part of what the designers consider when they're putting these rings together, is how it's going to sit with a band, whether or not people are going to wear it with that, if it comes as a set. I imagine that's part of the design part of this whole thing too.
Absolutely. I think the bands, we used to just say, okay, well, I just definitely got to have the matching set, right?
Right, yeah.
That is kind of not a thing anymore.
Okay.
We see people doing all kinds of fun things with bands where they're using different colors. So like you might have a yellow gold engagement ring, but you get 2 white gold wedding bands. Huh. Or rose gold is a popular kind of in combination in a stack sometimes. And some people do 2 or 3 different wedding bands put together with their engagement ring. There are no rules anymore, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would seem to be more, well, a double-edged sword, right? Like you have more options that could be maybe more confusing for the whole process. But at the same time, if that is kind of what is popular now, then it does have more freedom that you're not going to make the wrong decision.
No, and I think it very much reflects your style.
Yeah.
And it also has made inventorying the store easier. You know, not that long ago, 10 years ago or so, when we would go to market, it would be, we'd have to really entertain, okay, we're looking at this bridal line. Okay, with this set, we need the matching band. This one we don't. And do we price this as a set? And then what we ended up with at the end of a couple of years is people would want the engagement ring, but not the band. So we would all these misfit bands that don't go to the engagement ring. So now Missy does a great job of just stocking these programs of just rando bands that go with everything. Rando bands. We don't call it rando bands. However, randobands.com.
You might have just something.
One thing that you may not all know about John Carter is that he owns URLs. 14,000 URLs.
Randobands.com.
He is the squatter supreme when it comes to
you know it's a good URLs. You know it's a good URL if when you say it and you hear an echo behind it. Randobands.com. See, that's got
legs. I'm telling you.
So, but
coming soon.
In any event, other than rando bands not being a term that should be a term, it's really made it easier because really what any band with a nice flat edge will look nice with other flat edged bands. You don't have to worry about shadow bands that go around the center stone, and so. It's allowed us to really streamline the inventory. And it's been because of people's creativity and willingness to take bands that don't necessarily go with the engagement ring. And it creates a really interesting stack.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Big trend.
Yeah. And again, you're probably going to see, so again, back to kind of the whole concept about like why designer engagement rings matter. My guess is that those people they're artists. They're going to be putting more time into thinking about those kinds of things than you might just with like just a smooth kind of plain simplistic, nothing wrong with that, of course, simplistic bands. But if you want to get more creative with your style based on what you're talking about, you're probably going to have more luck finding some kind of neat kind of combination of setting, ring, and band that can go together with the designer lines. Cool. What else? What other? Well, you got one more rack here, one more display. What's on this one that's different from the other two?
Different and unique.
Yes, what we've seen so far.
So we have some twist styles here where the twisted, that's been popular for a while now, but still pretty popular. So we're still seeing twists. We have without a halo and with a halo. This one is doing that little fancy shape that we talked about where there's not round diamonds on the side, but it has little marquees that go down the sides.
Right.
So it's a little bit different. This shared prong where it has the single prong in between the diamonds, that look has been very popular because you just see a lot of diamond. You don't want to see metal.
Right.
You just want to look down and see a lot of diamond. That single prong look has been really, really good.
Nice.
I brought you this one. It's kind of tall if you can see it. Maybe this one right here.
Yep.
So this has a nice big center where it would be like what a 2 carat would look like in the center. And it's bringing back those baguettes, which we talked about on the side. Yep. And then here's one in yellow gold. That's a little more traditional, but it's just done really nicely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And I'll tell you the one cool thing too about Fana, and I don't know if we can get it in the video.
We'll try.
Okay.
Maybe not.
We might be. I think we're too far away.
This is one of my favorites.
Okay.
We'll punch in.
One of the great things and why we love Fana too is on the inside of the ring, there is a little blue sapphire on the inside. So you always have the something blue with you at all times.
That's a thing.
Yeah, that's a thing.
That's a saying. That's a thing.
Right?
Remind people of the saying. What's the saying for your wedding day?
What is it?
something borrowed,
something old, something new, something borrowed, and something blue. That's what a bride is supposed to carry with her on her wedding day. And so with Fana, you carry the something blue with you for your entire life.
So that if blue's not part of your color scheme, you don't have to go out of your way.
Yeah, you don't have to go out of your way to find it. It's right there. Exactly.
Excellent. Any other like celebrity trends or like how has that whole world changed this kind of thing when it comes to influencers and social media? And have you noticed like that some of that stuff starts making its way into the cases too when it happens online?
Sometimes it can be a blip where it's super people come in and it's super popular for a short period of time when it's been in the media and it's popular. Kind of like the 2 stone rings where you have 2 different shapes, which actually that one has kind of caught traction, and we're seeing more of that, but more of that in fashion, not necessarily in engagement rings.
Okay.
That was like, Megan Fox.
Sure.
That was her ring. Yeah, where it was the 2.
It's usually like it'll be natural colored diamonds, or it'll be different fancy shapes depending upon who got engaged. And that really, a lot of that is driven by what's on TikTok and Instagram.
Right.
Right. I guess to wrap up then, to close, like what case would you make for why these are important to have? Again, theoretically, you could just stock the cases with nothing but just kind of, I guess, generic, basic white label stuff. But you don't. So why would you, I guess in summary, say that it's important for you guys to have these in the store?
I think for the designers that we choose, it's their attention to detail and quality, consistency, and style. So those are the reasons why we choose to pair, who we choose to pair with. I know that the ring is going to last you a long time. I'm confident in what we're selling you because we have done the research. We have looked at thousands and thousands of rings before we settle on a brand. We look at everything. And I know we can tell you for the price of the ring, we have found you the best quality, the best style. They feel good. They look good. You're going to love what you have.
Yeah. And some of them, again, like you mentioned with the blue sapphire, I would imagine that some of them have their own signature elements in them, which is probably, again, just part of being unique, part of being interesting, which again, Carter, something you and I have talked about a lot is that, your love is unique. Like this is you have a one-of-a-kind relationship, so this might be another kind of dovetailing thing that maybe you would be kind of a candidate for a designer kind of ring if that's how you're viewing your relationship, right? There's something unique about it. You're going to find that in one of these designer rings, I think, as well. Something that would be very unique that would match your guys' relationship. Might be another way to say it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to piggyback on what Missy was saying, that it's the quality first.
Yeah.
Because the label itself really is unimportant. The number one characteristic that an engagement ring should possess is the ability to be worn every single day. That is a requirement that pretty much everybody who buys an engagement ring would tell you if you were to ask the right questions. Is that important? Then they would say yes. So we need to know, is that a company that stands behind their product? If there is an issue down the road, and what do we do about it? And then, as we said earlier, are we willing to stand behind that with our name, with the Jack Lewis name, and be proud that we sold that to somebody to wear every day of their life for many years?
Right.
That's what's really important. This is the quality behind the label. The label is just a small percentage of it, but it becomes a brand because it has a reputation. It builds a reputation because it's based on quality.
That sounds great. Thank you for coming in and doing this. It's been great to have a guest, and
way more fun than just talking to you.
It really is. It's a lot more fun than just us talking and trying to invent things.
This will be our most watched episode, and I'll never hear the end of it.
We'll be right back with the Final Facet.
Come discover the jewelry that says your love means everything.
Okay, so again, thank you for watching, everybody. And in summary, Missy, why would you say we would want to sell somebody a designer engagement ring versus, say, anything else that they could find anywhere on the internet?
I think just because we have done our job for you to scour through the lines that are available. We've looked at everything, and we have chosen what we feel is the best quality for the best price that's going to last you for the lifetime.
Yeah, and my take is don't get married to a brand name just because it's a name that you love. Do your research, make sure it's quality, make sure it's a piece that can be worn every day, because You want to wear your engagement ring every day for the rest of your life for many, many years. That's what we do at Jack.